Yeah, you are why you are oh. Yeah, you are why you are oh. Oje, kimi wa, ire, ilongo, chirebe, rule, ilongo. Oje, kimi wa, ire, ilongo. I raised that chant to honor my mother, Beryl Lynch, who was gone beyond, and on whose shoulders I stand, and to pay homage to all my ancestors. Greetings and welcome. I pray that I'll be able to finish my delivery, because from the moment I came in here this morning, I became teary-eyed. From the time Freetown started, and even before that, I received some hugs from Attila and from Matthew and from Mohammed. And the hugs spoke volumes. So everybody who greeted me and hugged me and gave me that strength that I think they sense that I need in these times, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Forgive me if I do not complete my delivery, but I'll give it my try. I want to share a story with you, my story. A human and familial experience that I think sealed the deal for me many years ago. And I have called that story Love and a Shoebox. And a friend of mine insists that it's the shoebox theory. On the 8th of June, 1961, my niece, Alison Baines, now called Allie, was born. She was my mother's first grandchild, her granddaughter. Up until then, I was the baby of the family. So this was the new generation starting off. Allie was a preterm baby, not yet 28 weeks in her mother's womb. She was born weighing just about 2 pounds, very tiny. She could fit into the palm of an adult hand. So tiny was she. Her skin was translucent. You could almost see her organs moving under her skin. She could not cry. She needed help to breathe. She was not feeding. So many things, they said, were wrong. But my mother was very excited about her granddaughter. She was in the prem unit, and my mother would go as regularly as she could afford to see her. On this particular visit, when my mother got to the hospital, Port of Spain General Hospital, right up there by Memorial Park, she looked for her granddaughter, and she could not be found. The incubator was not in the usual place. So she inquired of the nurses on the ward, where is my grandchild? And they directed my mother to the back of the ward, where she found Allie pushed aside, not to protect her, but to exclude her, because they said she was not going to live. She is going to die. One nurse whispered to my mother, I think you should christen her yourself, because if you don't do that, she will die and she'll become a duenne. I don't know if you all know what a duenne is. Pushed aside to the back of the ward, my mother, when she got to the incubator, she saw a line of red ants coming out of a wall, already circled the bassinet and they pray. And to this day, I can see my mother crying as she explained how she took her right forefinger and she went around the bassinet, killing the ants, one by one, those who have escaped. And after doing that, tracing the line from which they came into a wall under a sink because she didn't want that to happen to any other child. My mother said to them, who all you think all is? All is God? All you name God? My grandchild come to live, and live she will. My mother tried to persuade them to help that child. Nobody took her on. They said that she was not viable, that there were babies who were more viable that they needed to pay attention to. My mother had no set plan, but she knew one thing. Her grandchild was going to live. What did she do? She decided to take Ali away from the hospital. She walked down to Frederick Street. My mother loved shoes. She went into Matterson's shoe store where she was well known, and she asked for a shoebox, and they gave her a shoebox. She crossed the street. I think it might have been Kirpson's or one of those stores, and there was a pharmacy. She bought cotton wool. She went to a pharmacy. She got herself a dropper. And then she went to the supermarket on Independence Square, and she bought a little vial of brandy. I don't know if you know the little bottles with a sink in the bottom. She bought a vial of brandy and a couple other things that she would need. And she took her shoebox with her few basic implements. She journeyed back to the hospital. She lined the shoebox with the cotton wool, and she took Ali, and she placed her in the shoebox. By that time, the nurses had called for reinforcements. My mother was threatened. She defied the authorities. They said, if you take this child out of this hospital and anything should happen to her, you will be charged. You'll be brought before the court. And furthermore, if anything happened, she will not be readmitted because you took her without permission. Ironic, isn't it? A child condemned to die. A child who could hardly breathe on her own, who could not feed, who did not cry, who did not move. They had condemned her to death, but now they were threatening my mother because she dared to stand up to authority and to remove her granddaughter from a vicious, hostile environment. Well, Alison came home. And from the moment she entered that house, all our lives changed. Everything changed, I think forever. That shoebox became the surrogate womb, where Alison was cloaked in cotton wool and put in a place of prominence. The whole routine of the household had to change. Lights had to be dimmed, noise levels reduced, schedules had to be worked out, people had to give up sleeping hours and waking hours, recreation had to be given up, access to the household of friends and neighbors because we didn't want her to get infected. And the routine went like this. Everybody was part of it. We had to make sacrifices. The first thing I gave up was my doll's clothes because nothing could fit her. But that came after because at that time she couldn't wear clothes. Her skin was raw. But my mother would feed that child drop by drop from that dropper, would massage her with 2 fingers, would anoint her daily with fresh coconut oil kissed by brandy, which took the place of her bath. She couldn't bathe. And for her to have a release of her bowels, she would have to be tickled and induced with the stem of a physic nut leaf, so that when she would give up a tiny excrement, we would be so happy. In the moment, in the time, there were so many lessons that we learned, lessons that stay with me to this day. It was not an easy journey. It was a very difficult journey. We constantly sought equilibrium because just as we got something where we wanted it, the goalpost had to shift to suit this child. Everything, all the focus went to this shoebox with this child in it. There were many experiences. My mother taught us that the universe delivers. She taught us the power of the voice. She would hold Ali up and ask, not for money, not for anything grand, just for what she needed at the moment, and the universe would deliver. It taught us the value of grounded knowledge, because my mother did things that I don't think any of the doctors would have done. So for instance, when Ali could not breathe, it was my mother's mouth that cleared her nasal passages, tiny as they were, gently, and she taught us all how to do that. It was my mother who taught us that sacrifices needed to be made for our children, that we have to plan with our children in mind. The sacrifices were many. We regretted none of them, and they paid off. We learned to stand up for ourselves, to stand up to authority when it is required, to question, to have hope, to understand that caring for children is not a one-off thing. It's a lifelong commitment. It takes care. It takes planning. It takes nurturing. When my mother was nurturing courage in a shoebox, because trust me, while she fought from outside the box, popular statement now about being outside of the box, my mother fought outside of the box, and this child fought from inside the box. Courage as we have never seen. We got to understand that it doesn't take just a family or a parent. It takes neighbors, it takes a community, it takes even strangers. Many of the days when we would cross the cemetery, we had to go through the cemetery to get to the pundit with Jerry Allison, because nothing else was working. Nothing else was working. So we went to the Hindu pundit. We had so much that we were grateful for, and so much that we continue to be grateful for. It's 50 years later. I was just 12 years old when all of this was taking place. When my mother was nurturing courage in a shoebox, she was shaping my sense of self. She was shaping who I was to become. So today, I ask the question. My niece, she's grown, she's married, she has 2 wonderful children, doing very well. Her daughter is at Caville, now studying for her master's. Her son is at Cipriani College of Labor. She has a wonderful husband, and she has now built her house, a home. This is the 3rd house that she has built, but this is the home that she's constructing for her family. I want to ask today, I have shared a little bit of my story with you about love and courage in a shoebox. And I want to ask today, where are we 50 years later? 50 years of independence. Where are we? How much better off are our children? We signed as a country the UN, we ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1990. We're still struggling with legislation, but legislation alone will not save us. It will take each and every one of us with a commitment, with a love, with enough caring, and with our action to make a difference. As so many people have said before, courage is about standing up. Courage is about confronting the fear. Our infant and child mortality rates, according to UNICEF and the World Bank, are rising, 24 to 27 per 1,000. Our mortality rates, 55 to 5,000. Our hospitals, our women going to our public hospitals, 3,000 each year for botched abortions. Our children are the victims of sexual abuse. Incest is on the rise. We have fathers gifting themselves with grandchildren, their own grandchildren. What are we prepared to do about it? Our children are still being pushed aside, 33,000 with special needs, not attended to, not tested, not diagnosed. They're being told, our children are being told, how dumb and how stupid they are because they leave school without being able to read or write. Our children are still getting married, still allowed to get married at 12 and 14 and 16. There is so much to be done. I am saying to you today, I have a shoebox. My shoebox has permitted me and empowered me to stand up in a place where the murder rate is mind-boggling and say, I do not support the death penalty. My shoebox has given me the courage to stand up and say that all our citizens, no matter their sexual orientation, deserve to enjoy full rights of citizenship, deserve to be treated with dignity. My shoebox has empowered me to do so much. And all I'm here to do today is to ask if my shoebox can inspire you just one little bit. Our children deserve to have a chance at life. We need to get rid or use our four fingers to get rid of the predators, the red ants, who do not have our children. It's best intentions and best wishes at heart. We can do that. Beryl Lynch did it. My shoebox says that today I would like all of us, many of us have causes. Let's revisit our cause. Those of us who have not yet found a cause, there's so many causes out there. You don't have to look very far. Commit to a cause. Do something about it. I pay homage to my mother, Beryl Lynch, and to my Alison, my niece, Alison Baines, and to all those persons who understand the importance of our nation's children. I want to ask you, I want you to symbolically stand up right now, because we need to stand up for our children. Thank you very much.